Oh, hey, that does work. That's cool. All right, so before I begin, thank you to everyone who has been messaging me on Horizon. Um, I'm gonna be honest, y'all made me kind of feel like Paris Hilton at Disneyland. A lot of encouraging words. People been coming up to me, sending me PMs, all kinds of just thank you. You definitely made me feel incredibly welcome on the server, and that it brought back that OG comfort that I felt when I first joined, of just the notion of like, hey man, you need help with something? I got your back. Well, I'm probably gonna need help with something later this week because I'm fixing to get a sub job pretty soon here. I'm be straight. I'm dicking around on warrior, thief, and monk because I'm just trying to level my evasion skill primarily right now. Because inevitably I'm gonna have to end up tanking things on warrior in a party, and I would rather slowly inch my way along on the three melee jobs for right now. But I'll be taking warrior as my first, like, you know, running through the ghetto job before I, get more serious in my intention to play monk. But gonna need it as a sub job anyway, so I'm just fixating on that for right now. So I mean, really, the only thing I'm gonna need help with is getting a sub job, and um, I don't really know what else right now. Uh, I intend to start off very slow for the time being. Try not to let it consume my life, because it did, and you know, I'm taking this drug, Final Fantasy 11 again. I'm trying to be careful with it. So get that out of the way. And yeah, I added an axe back here because I'm leveling warrior right now. So I figured, hey, let me bust out the axe. I haven't looked at this thing in a while. So that's what we got going on over here on my end. Recently, someone made a comment about basically, being like the Tourette's guy who's like, don't talk shit about Total. This person was just like, don't talk shit about Summoner. And I was like, is Summoner like super good on Horizon or something? I mean, it got decent by the time I stopped playing around 85 cap on retail. But I looked it up and I'm like, oh, Summoner has AoE refresh with Leviathan. Are you shitting me? Okay, so between Fenrir's accuracy and evasion, buff Howl, it's, you know, strength, dexterity, agility, intelligence, mind, charisma, all that crap. And then you also give Summoner an AoE refresh? What else you got going on here? Oh, Paladin just gets chivalry and White Mage just gets devotion? Yeah? What else they changed on this server? I spent a hot minute just looking up all these changes on the server, and I was just like, I'm down. I'm down. Try that. I have to say, my favorite change, as minimal as this might seem to some people, is the fact that Perfect Dodge just gives you 999 accuracy and ranged accuracy. That's pretty great. Because what the hell does Steve's 2 hour do in endgame when you're fighting a god or a ground king? It doesn't do anything. At least with this, it's like, yo, man, I'm going to try and proc some acid bolts on this piece of shit. At least I'm going to have a chance to use my 2 hour to apply some functional effect to an endgame activity. But for me right now, it's just a nice way to level up crossbow. I just pull, something that is a proper level. Oh my god, the level checker add-on. This is the first time I've ever played on PC, so I don't know about any add-ons or any of that crap. This is my first experience with those. And the level checker, man, that's juice. That is a whole watermelon patch of juice right there, and oh man, I don't know how I ever dealt with just like, okay, so it's a very tough with high defense. That means this thing is this level. I just kind of used to know that, but being able to just see the level is like, Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, touch that spot on the back of my neck. That's where I like it. So, had a little liquid courage before this. I had a Budweiser, which is never had Budweiser before, and it's definitely the creamiest horse piss I've ever drank before. So, it's got that going for it. Uh, Man, after a beer has just like sat out in the tent overnight, it turns into magic juice. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that. I don't know if that makes the alcohol worse. I don't really drink, but hey, let's. I got notes here. I actually had to write a list of notes because here's the deal. I've made this video over 40 times. It's always over an hour long. I always try to make it less than an hour. I don't care this time. This gonna be as long as it frickin' is because I'm about to try and compress 15 years of a human being's life from my perspective into a single video. And in the process, we can talk about how much of a shit show Summoner used to be. You know what? Let's start a little before Final Fantasy 11. Actually, I feel like that actually would give more context to this. That Null wasn't just some dude I started playing the game with. I actually knew him for 4 years before I started playing Final Fantasy 11. I met him on an IRC server on Espernet in the RPG fan chat room. Or he was a moderator in there. It was him, Usis, which is the Japanese name for the main character in Phantasy Star 2. Phantasy Star's dope, by the way. You should play those games. Then there was Rise Landale, Phantasy Star 3. And then there was Ranma Satome, who was Setsuna, who I made a video about. That stuff happened. Stuff happened. But, from that, like, initial group, pretty much everyone treated me differently after I joined the military. Except for Null. He was the only one who treated me the same. I lost half my friends when I was out of the military because they were like, you're part of the military-industrial complex. And I'm like, actually, I was just trying to defend our borders so that you can say that. But that's fine. Tomato, tomato, right? I went and I did stuff and people had opinions about it. Null didn't care. Null just, he didn't care. One way or another. I was the same person to him still. I think he was probably about 6 or 7 years older than me. But he always just treated me like a little brother, basically. Well, more than just a little brother. I mean, freaking going on anime adventures and that type of crap. Brothers, that sort of, brothers. Like that. He didn't really talk much. He was the type of person who usually just talked in PMs. He was just a very shy, introverted person. But, man, he defined, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Like, seriously. I only ever saw him get mad one time in the 15 years that I knew him. And it was on Final Fantasy 11, and it was over some guy who was a real douchebag. So much so that Null, of all people, actually told this guy to go fuck himself. And it was like, homeboy, real mad right now. Because for Rizzle, he is like, if you took the entirety of My Little Pony and you compressed it into one person who is literally made of sunshine and rainbows and lollipops, that is WhiteDragonNall. He was just the nicest fucking person that I still have ever met in my life, in real life, on the internet, anything. He is still the nicest, most polite, cool dude that I had ever known. We start playing the game around the same time together. Most of us had about a 4-month advantage on him, and we knew what it was like to start out, so we hooked him up with a bunch of gil and equipment. And early on, it's like, what do you want to play? It's very beneficial to start as a melee job. It's going to save you money when you're trying to just get a sub job, get some advanced jobs and that kind of stuff. It's just easier and it doesn't cost as much. Just pick some melee, get it to 30, start playing the game the way you want, basically. So the thing is that he said he wanted to play Summoner. And you don't want to tell your really cool, really nice friend who's excited to play a Final Fantasy XI with you, oh, Summoner sucks Dixon. Just, it is horrible. You don't want to play Summoner, and it's like, you don't want to tell him that. So we, told him, like, instead, our Link Shell leader, Arlemin, the psychotic Dark Knight, who was the focal point of the playing DPS makes you a criminal video, he tells Null in the IRC channel that you should just level up Dark Knight first. Use that as your way of making money and make Summoner your fun job. And I took that advice, actually, the same. Paladin was my main job and Thief was my fun job, more or less. And it had to be that way because Thief never got party invites until level frickin' 60. Wow, that was a dark time. But around that time, his Dark Knight is, I want to say he's like level 40-ish. I know we were starting to go into lower Crawler's Nest at that time. So 40-ish. Was it lower Crawler's Nest? F me. I forget my level zones. Phew. Maybe that Budweiser's better than I think. But there was this dude, he made his second character as a Galka Ninja. And, he had enough money to just start his second character with Utsumi-ichi. He just bought it off the auction house. But by the time he's in his 40s, and, we're like all in our 40s, he tells us, like, hey, y'all do the Utsumi-ichi quest yet? And so he tells us, like, just start getting zinc ore, trading it to this dude in the Tenshoto place. And next Saturday, I'm going to take y'all guys through Sea Serpent Grotto. I'll buy, prison powders and silent oils for you. I have all the beast coins necessary to open all the doors in Sea Serpent's Grotto. And I'll just get you guys done with the Utsumi-ichi quest. Excuse me. So we go and do the quest. And I had a dilemma at the time because I'm like, Thief is just my fun job. And I don't mind just rocking Thief Warrior because Berserk is hot. And that's what all the old school Japanese players did before Rise of Zillart. They just used Warrior sub. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sell Utsumi-ichi for 450,000 gil. Because this was before RMTs started taking hold of the game and gil was actually worth something. And that was a mistake. Because one day, someone in Link Shell wants to unlock Ninja. We had some higher level players helping us, guiding us through the quest. So I just tag along. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll unlock Ninja. I get Ninja to level 10. I put on Subjob of my Thief, and I dual wield some daggers. And immediately I think, I have made a grim mistake, fatal error. I have effed up. Null could tell that I was having hesitations about it. And it just so happened that he had been holding on to his Utsumi-ichi scroll. He didn't sell it. Even though he had no intentions of ever subbing Ninja and Dark Knight or Summoner. One day I'm just in Windhurst in the Mog House. He calls me out to Windhurst Woods, trades me. Victalisa was there at the time, actually. Because she could tell there was like some like bro moment going on, like the type on like a boys love manga cover where there's a bunch of like flowers and shit blossoming around their faces about to kiss. So she just kind of stopped for a minute. She could feel there was like a bromance moment happening here. And he just trades me the scroll, and he's just like, I think you'll have more fun if you sub Ninja and you had this. Now, I'd already leveled my ninja to like 20 something solo, just for fun. Um, so I had the ability to just use Utsemi Ichi, and I just used it right there in front of him, just to show, like, I'm not trying to like rob you or nothing. I'm not trying to resell this on a mule or something. I will in fact use this right now. And man, he was right. Not only was it more efficient because I loved pulling as thief because everyone else sucked at it. I was pretty good at it though. The funny thing is that no one really knew I didn't have Utsemichi because I like laterally leveled so many jobs that my evasion skill was always capped. So even when I'm pulling without shadows, nothing's really hitting me. It's one of the reasons I love Thief in this game. When you look at the box and it's like, this job evades shit a lot. Thief actually evades shit a lot. I love it. But, when you're trying to like do EXP party pulls, when you have a bard, you're not setting up no sneak trick attack properly when you have a bard in the party. Reapplying songs at the last 8% of a fight, and then you rolling with a mob and the bard hits you with a buff, and now the mob is going after the bard, and now it's a cluster F, and have fun repositioning for sneak trick attack. You got to stand outside of all of that and do nothing for maybe 5 seconds sometimes as a puller. You got to keep those things coming in consistently. And Utsemi shadows are so integral to keeping that whole, series of cogs and gears keeping the time correctly. And yeah, he was right. I had a lot more fun when I was able to just dual wield and use shadows and fight things that I probably shouldn't be able to fight because, Utsemi's broken as shit. I'm glad to see on Horizon that has a Subjob. The recast timer is much larger, but still perfectly functional for polling as far as I can tell. So that's not a big deal to me. So where are we at? Oh yeah, okay. So he gets his Dark Knight to around 40, and then that's when he starts kind of asking about like, so why have I never seen a summoner on this game? Well, first of all, let me explain something very simple. Y'all ever notice that Summoner was part of the core game before any of the expansions? But all the proto crystals where you get the elemental avatars are in Rise of the Zillart zones. Ever since Final Fantasy 3 Japanese, Summoner has always been this job where they're kind of like, hey, should this job like do something? And then they're like, I mean, I don't know. Ship it. Green light. They just always do that with Summoner for some reason. The only good Summoner was frickin' Rydia in Final Fantasy IV, and to a lesser extent, perhaps Ico in Final Fantasy IX. But, Summoner always gets shafted for some reason. And in Final Fantasy VI, everyone was a frickin' Summoner, sort of. And then it was great, but then it wasn't, cohesed into some job. There wasn't one character who can like use summons at like some greater proficiency. It's like, why can you guys just not make Summoner a good frickin' job? What the hell is your problem? Anyway, let me explain the two big things that made Summoner suck so much back then. Is you had Blood Pact. You didn't have Blood Pact Rage and Blood Pact Ward on separate cooldowns. You had Blood Pact on a 1 minute cooldown. You had to choose one ability once a minute. And none of them are really that great. They all kind of sucked. Making things worse, there was no mini tuning for quests back then. There was no get your summoner to level 20 with Carbuncle and then, go buy a Vile Elixir +3 and a couple pineapple juices or Yagodo drinks or whatever you want to bring. There was none of that. So you got to get to like level 65 before you were of a sufficient level for anyone to want to do a prime avatar fight with you. So have fun getting a job to 65 first, just so that you can play Summoner with the avatars. That is what Summoner was. They figured, oh, well, it probably took so long for us to actually do something with Summoner until, Rise of Zillart came out. People have max level jobs already. Here, you can get the avatars, and now you can actually do something with your Summoner that you probably didn't level because it sucked. But Null persisted with it anyway. He soloed up to like level 23 on his Summoner just so he would understand, how to play Summoner. When do I use this ability? How far can I kite this thing? How long is my MP good for if I'm trying to do this? Those are the types of things you learn when you solo, and that's why you should do that. If you just power away, EXP as fast as possible, you're really not going to learn what your job can do. You're going to learn how to play efficiently in an EXP party, but that's the only part of your job you're going to learn. Solo shit all the time. Now, after the mini Elemental 4 quests come out, Null's like 64 in his Dark Knight, and at that point it's like, why keep playing Dark Knight? I have all my freaking avatars now. And so I started, I forget what I started leveling with him, but eventually I started playing my Warrior with him, doing Warrior Ninja as a tank for him, and it's like, hey, yo, look how much karma came back around here. You gave me Utsumi-Ichi, and now you have a guaranteed tank for your Summoner all the time. And this video would end up being like 7 hours long if I talked about everything WhiteDragonNall and I did together. But I should also mention his name in game was Wdnall. Like some type of famous ore refinery boat crossing the Great Lakes. Like the U.S. Minnesota, the Wdnall. Like Null was a boat. Yeah, the thing is, it was a boat of charity and kindness. Like, by the time we get to I'm gonna get to that. But we're getting like level 50-ish on our Warrior and Summoner combo. And I remember I only had one EXP party with him when he finally got Earthen Ward and mid 50s on Summoner. And I'm like, okay, this changes everything. Warrior Nin tanking is so much easier when I have freaking Earthen Ward. Holy crap, this is amazing. But then some 75s and the Shell start doing the Fenrir fight, and he realizes, I don't have Fenrir. Ooh, I don't have everything on Summoner. Homeboy had a light and a dark elemental when he was level 1 on his Summoner. He always wanted to have everything he could have, And we stopped playing for a while at that point, Mid 50s is well beyond Subjob level. I don't need to level Warrior no more. So I just stopped playing it because Null didn't want to play his Summoner no more. And, a couple of us could tell it was like, you know what? We have a new main big goal. We have to get to 75 so we can do the Fenrir fight for Null. We need him to get Fenrir. That was a big motivating force behind me getting to 75, honestly. Even though I got kicked from my own static party that I created at level 33 in Altapa Desert. But I'll get into that in a different video, because yeah, that is a whole crate of shit that I can get into, actually. But it was funny because around the time Null's Dark Knight 73, my Paladin is 73, we just start doing coffer key runs for people. We just start joining skill up parties. And that was actually how we got to 75, was actually just helping people out together. Again, that's why I have so many good memories with Null, and a lot of them are so dynamic, because sometimes you're doing a coffer key run, with like 3, 4, 5 people, and the jobs are always different, and what you're able to do in a given hour is always going to fluctuate. And I liked figuring out the most efficient ways to handle things in those different circumstances. And it just so happened that I'm getting EXP in the process. Maybe a little at a time, but for me, the big reward was helping these people get their coffer keys so they can get their artifact gear, so they can keep feeling like they're not missing out on something while they're leveling up. Because Null and I knew what that felt like. I knew what it was like to get Thief, to 40 plus without Utsemi. Null knew what it was like to get to level 20 plus without any elemental avatars. He knew what it was like to not have Fenrir. I mentioned in a previous video I had a bunch of guns pointed at me and it didn't scare me no more. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to fight Fenrir in this game. Fenrir actually still scares me. The thought of Doggo coming up and being like, Bork, Bork, I am Doge, I crit you for 500 damage to a tank and Koenig equipment. Nah, I think I'm good. I don't need that terror in my life anymore. I don't know how people do it these days, but I don't know what Fenrir's actually like these days. But I mean, back then, the AoE Dispel Howl that takes away everything that's not Signet. Haha, guess what? You're not re-raising after you fail the fight. You're walking through Horototo Ruins and Toramai Canal all over again because y'all don't have no buffs. And maybe my memory's, janked out, but as I recall, that AoE Dispel Howl also, reset aggro. One of those, high-level endgame things that happen sometimes, like with the Kamla Nut fight for Zillar, how he just resets your aggro and your tank can't do shit. Null was in there as Thief sub so he could trick attack weapon skills back onto me just because we needed something to keep pinning it back on me. We failed that fight 4 times. Each failed it at 5% the first time, and we're like, all right, you know what, we got this. We know how to kite this thing in a figure 8 around the stone lanterns. We can do this. And then we failed at 4%. And then we failed at 2%. And it's like, this is bullshit. Fundamentally, mechanically, we can win this fight. We're just not critting enough, more or less. That's really all it boils down to. The 5th time we finally beat it, Anwin comes out with the most beautiful, amazing clutch benediction of all time. Don't got no MP left, and then she pulls out a maul and starts just clubbing Fenrir in the hind leg. It's like, this is all I can do. I got nothing left no more. We finally beat it. And we all just sped through the cutscene because we don't give a crap. Because it's like, I just want to summon Fenrir. I just want to be done with this. But, Null was watching the cutscene. He's soaking it up. This is his favorite job. So a bunch of us go and we get our ash poles from the NPC vendor. And we're all out there naked with our prostitute poles dancing like a bunch of strippers. Smacking mandragors around, with a stick. And with our level 1 Fenrirs. And then Null comes out the East Saruta Gate in full Oster HQ gear, which I don't even remember what the hell it was called. And I'm like, bro, the pants and feet AF is better. You don't even need those, and you bought the HQ version of it, bro. What you doing? That's an all day. He just showed up periodically like duds. I drip with them. Behold me. That's just what he did. And then he's like, hey guys, watch this. And he does the Fenrir, stat up howl. And it's like, yeah. Yeah. Hey, you wanna try using that on my warrior? Oh, I'm level 56 and I have plus 38 strength. Hey, you want to level again now that you got Fenrir? And hell yeah. I had a lot of static parties in that game. I had one on my Paladin, had one on my Thief, had one on my Bard, White Mage, Samurai. But man, I think my favorite static party was when I played Warrior with Null's Summoner. Because that was around the time where it's like, no one wanted to see Warrior as a tank, so they would never invite Warrior as a tank. However, if I'm the one forming the party, and my summoner friend and I over here say, we got the tank and the heals on lock, don't worry about it, we're going to chain VTs, we know the good camps, shut up and smack things around for us. That was always so fun. There was this dynamic excitement to it, because it was like, I don't know what kind of DPS we're going to get today, you know? I invited Dragoons all day, you better believe that, you know? A lot of them were kind of pity invites. I'm going to admit, there was even this one time where everyone was telling me in Link Shell chat, it's like, dude, this Dragoon is hitting these robber crabs for 11 damage on their auto attack. Can we please replace them? And I was like, hell no, you're not going to replace them. This guy needs to get his levels too. And if he's doing that little damage, I'm sure everyone else probably kicking him out of the parties too. Like, we can handle this. Deal with the slight decrease in EXP per hour. It'll be fine. You know, we would invite people in the link shell periodically if we, you know, copped their levels. But, you know, like, it's like, dude, not every EXP party has to be perfect. We're doing this with a warrior nin tank and a summoner doing heals on auxiliary. Like, deal with it. Chill out. Like, Null was great, though, because he always carried, you know, ginger cookies around, and he would always stock himself with ingredients to make juices, so he was always like, I don't need a bard, I don't need a red mage, I got all the HQ elemental staves, I'll just eat cookie and sit down, drink some juice, I'm fine, I don't need any support, I am the support, man. Freaking Null was just a Sherman tank of backup. And one day, we're in up a boyata tree. We're just skilling up with, like, you know, 3 or 4 from the link shell. And I see this paladin and a red mage duoing goobos together. And I'm just like, did I say duoing or duoing? I don't know. And I'm like, did that dude just use Vorpal Blade like 3 times in 14 seconds? What the hell sword is that? Because, by the way, this is before Red Mage had any of that, like, double attack magic that I looked up recently. Fuck you, Red Mage. You don't deserve that shit. You get everything already. But this Paladin Summon Warrior, he's double attacking like crazy. I'm like, what the hell is this sword? Joysway. I need that sword. And I looked up where to get it from. I was camped down there for a whole day. I watched a Thief Ninja and a Ninja Warrior tank it. And I'm like, okay, you got to blink tank this thing, I guess. And I had done endgame with one shell in particular. I did with Hubris, which was kind of a white, creamy endgame pearl. That's where I got, like, you know, my Koenig helmet, my Koenig hands, Seiryu sword, you know, stuff that I think a lot of people might consider junk drops from Sky that they just kind of pass off to newbies, but still was a big deal for me. Evasion bonus in my offhand. I will definitely take that while trying to tank freaking Charybdis, because this is not a mob that I want to be using a dagger as my offhand weapon for, and even if I had a Radill, I wouldn't want to use it because I don't want to give this thing too much TP. Seiryu's sword was just this perfect, majestic weapon to offhand when doing Thief Ninja tank against Charybdis. And our first kill, we did it with a Bard White Mage, Summoner White Mage, and me on Thief Ninja. And after that first Joysway, I was like, alright, we can beat this thing. We need to get this sword for as many freaking people as we possibly can. And Riston, you are up next. I'm going to make sure that you have been our super cool Bard. You always join every skill up party. You always join every coffer key run. Freaking, we're going to get you a Joysway. You deserve to have an Omega sword on your Bard because you're a cool ass dude too. And then Dragon joined our Charybdis group, and, you know, we got him a Joysway, and he, you know, sure as hell, he showed up every time. It was like, I got Charybdis time of death, bro. You want to come help? He would be like, I'm there for sure, bro. And it always worked out kind of funny in the end. I thought about it all the time of, like, This is where the charity train began, when Null gave me that Utsumi scroll. And here we are in the bottom of Sea Serpent's Grotto, right where you finished the Utsumi quest. I actually had a ritual for camping Charybdis, and it was usually me, Riston, and Null made up the core of the group. But if it didn't have a summoner, then, you know, haste and the debuffs from a red mage would make up for the lack of Earthen Ward, quite frankly. In the end, I think we got over 20 Joy Sways for people. Like, I'm not fucking playing, dude. Like, one of the reasons I'm playing Horizon again right now is my mom told me to play Horizon. I was telling her all about, like, the changes to the server and shit. And I'm like, oh, Paladin gets end light. That used to be, like, a thing from, like, the 85 cap era. And she's just like, Tony, I haven't really seen you this excited and happy about anything in a while. And you're just talking about changes to jobs in this game. You said it was free? You need to just play it. Because I want to watch you play again. I had an interesting experience with 11. And pretty much every story that I've ever told on this channel, 9 times out of 10, more than likely, my mom was there and witnessed it, actually. I have talked about these stories with her over the years, even, because she was there. I had a strange setup where I had a self-made little desk that I made in our family's cabinet shop. And I just had a mattress on the floor because that was more comfortable to me, and frankly, it still kind of is. That's why I sleep in a tent on the ground sometimes. I just want a hard mattress. I want to be sleeping on rocks, okay? Because I have strange spinal alignment. Sometimes I'm like a cat. I just want to be on a hardest surface possible. But, you know, so I have my little desk on the floor, and I had an extension cable from my orange iMac USB keyboard and go to the television where I had my PS2 hooked up, which was really convenient because I could always look up things on a wiki before they were called wikis, you know, but fundamentally they were wikis, you know, just from my bed. And my mom worked nights at the police department at a city that I'm not going to name. So, you know, when she gets home at like 1 in the morning, it just so happens that I'm in a European endgame shell, because that was when I was writing books literally every single day, and it was just easier to write at nighttime. So I was always up at like I would wake up at like 6:30 p.m. That was my morning. That was when I woke up. So, you know, playing 11 at like from like, you know, midnight to 6 in the morning, it just worked better for me to be in a European endgame shell from living in California. And oh man, I miss Moonglow. That's where I met so many cool people. But like, even while I was doing all this endgame stuff, I spent a good half of my time in my social shell with all the people that I grew up playing the game with, and, you know, bringing all that endgame gear that I had into a social shell. That was really useful for helping people get their stuff, you know what I mean? Or just, you know, walking around zones with impunity to be able to raise people. You know, I did that all day. But along came a day when Square introduced 2 Notorious monsters that were actually based on Japanese urban legends and myths. One of them was Taisaijin. That was a meme in the Japanese side of this game. Is when Refresh was first added for Red Mage. Big surprise. Red Mage did not come stock with Refresh. They added that later. And the first dude who ever figured out where to get it from, he sold it on the auction house for like 200,000 gil a piece, because no one knew where to get it yet. people asking him like, hey, where do you get refresh from? And so he just tells people, I got it off of Tai Sai and Rangamont Pass. So a bunch of people just start killing those things all the time, and no one ever sees the scroll of refresh. And so people ask him. I think all this actually happened on 2chan, as far as I'm aware. And he's like, oh, you have to not kill the Tai Sais, and then one of them like grows bigger, and that's the one that drops refresh. All a complete lie, just so he could hide where it was coming from, because he was trying to monopolize the market. But there was another fake NM that some other dude made up a long time ago, where he said, oh, there's this sword called the Clear Sword. It's got accuracy -7 and it paralyzes enemies, but it's just a hilt. The blade itself is invisible, it's clear. And it drops off this weapon Notorious monster in Roll Mauve, but the Notorious monster is invisible and you can't see it. And they, in the same update, they added Tai Sai Jin, which actually drops a scroll of refresh, and a Spelunker's hat, which is an anti-optical hat. It gives you -10 accuracy, -10 evasion, and -10 ranged accuracy. Literally just an inverse optical hat. I think he also drops refresh 2 now. I was looking that up recently. But in that same update, they added the Shikigami weapon. And if you're on Horizon, thank God, thank Buddha, thank your star sign, thank whatever pagan, totems or anything, that you do not ever have to camp Shikigami weapon, and that it's just a drop from Waking the Beast. Because Shikigami weapon, I'd rather camp Charybdis for another 5 years straight, okay? But Null is my summoner buddy. He wants a yin yang robe. I'm going to get my summoner buddy a yin yang robe, I guess. And so we look it up, and it's like, this thing's invisible? How do you aggro it? You have to cast magic? But everything in there aggro's freaking magic. You could also sit and rest and heal, and it would aggro to that, apparently. But the first 2 times we fight it, we do not get the yin yang robe, which is absolute bullcrap, because I was there as Thief with the Thief's Knife, and, the base drop rate was 15%. So, looking at the treasure hunter table thing, that should have boosted it up to something a little more decent than not getting it twice in a row. But it added up in the end, because we did get it the 3rd time. And the 3rd time we got it, I was healing on the ground, trying to aggro it. This white mage down the hall starts casting Stone Skin, and she had been there for a hot minute. Only ever casting Stone Skin when nothing was around to aggro her, leaving me as Thief Ninja to clear all the dolls, pots, anything else that moved through the hallway that aggroes to magic. And then it aggroes her, runs through me, starts attacking her. And she did not have Stone Skin up, because her whole body is being blown back like one of those, clown puppets with sand at the bottom that you punch when you're a kid. And I just sat there and watched her keep trying to cast Stone Skin on herself repeatedly instead of curing herself for some reason. So I'm run up to the mob. She goes down. And, in half a second, I got, like the algebra and the calculus stuff, like flying out of my head. And it's like, mug it, steal from it, use Dancing Edge on it. I don't care. I'm not going to camp this thing any longer than I have to. She never claimed it. She never cast Dia on it. She never attacked it. Nothing. She left it gold the whole time it killed her. So, whatever, I'm taking it. Now, I played on PS2 at garbage resolution. So, what I did back then was lock onto the enemy, position my character on the left side of the screen, put the camera in the ground, and have the enemy kind of toward the upper right side of the screen between the chat and just all the other garbage that got in the way. I wanted to see the enemy. I needed to physically look at them. When are they auto-attacking? When do I time my Utsumi Ichi casting to make sure I don't screw it up? And it just so happened that I rotated around the mob because I wanted to have the blue sky in the background behind the mob because it gives a greater contrast than the pale gray of the Surmit walls in Romov. I didn't realize until after the fight was done and I lifted the camera off the ground and rotated around me that I was standing on top of that White Mage Mithra's corpse the whole time I was fighting it. And then her link shell was standing behind me, probably very angry at me for stealing Shikigami weapon and then fighting it on top of her corpse. But we did get the yin yang robe, which was great because I didn't want to go back there and camp against those people after what I did to them. That was really rude, but it was entirely unintentional. So it's one of those things that I feel bad about it, but I laugh about it more than I feel bad about it. You know, it's one of those 49% things. But hot damn, man. Me and Null did just everything on that game together, bro. You know, he was there during that Voivray fight we did at the top of Ifrit's Cauldron that lasted 3 hours. Like, just crazy stuff. He was there when I got my Ungru Boomerang, you know. We did all the Bastok quests together to rank 10. Freaking... We got so many people's sky access. Just... But, like... Around Treasures of Adargan. That has been out for about a year. Him, Riston, and Evelith, I believe it was, he was their tank for their assault group. I was more into Nizal Isle. I wanted to use all my assault points just to do Nizal Isle. I wasn't trying to advance in assault tiers. You know, I wasn't trying to get any gear from assault. I was using my points for Nizal Isle. That's all I cared about. Good thing, too, because that's how I eventually got my freaking Peacock Amulet and my Strider Boots. That was pretty dope. Trotter Boots, my bad. They were rare EX by the time I got them. Still had them. But it's only been about a year after that stuff had been out that Null posts on his live journal, you know, back then. That he posts she said yes post. It's, you know, my now fiance type of post. And I had these twin feelings of I'm happy for you, but I know what that means. And only about a month after he posted that was when, you know, we all knew it was coming, but there was one day he logged in and he was just like, hey guys, I got something to tell you. And it's like, Null don't really talk in Link Shell that often. And if he comes in saying something like that, yeah, he got something to say. So, as was common with our Link Shell, you know, we had a little farewell party type deal before we, you know, didn't get to see them anymore. And Nulls was really the only one that ever, like, truly upset me, honestly. Because this wasn't just some dude that I suffered through Final Fantasy XI together with, you know. This is my bro. That, you know, he was like my internet mentor, you know. So it was a double whammy for me of just like, I'm not gonna be able to talk to my friend no more. He like disappeared basically completely at that point, which is good. You should spend time on your wife and, you know, focusing on what you want to do. But I lost my dude that I played 11 with. I lost my homie. I lost my bro. I lost my dude, you know. But I continued playing and doing what he and I liked to do together, which was to help other people get their stuff. Like, that's why I loved doing Dynamis. I didn't care what Dynamis it was. Other people would be like, oh, is Dynamis Windhurst on rotation again? Oh, fantastic. I was just like, who got AF2 they want from here? Because I'm doing this for you. We're doing this for you. We're going to get you your stuff sometime this year, I swear. And, you know, even if it's just something like Monk Hands or, you know, Dark Knight Boots or something, it means something to those people because they see value in it and helping people get that stuff that they wanted, that they were playing their job and thinking, oh man, if I had that thing, I wonder what it would be like, or I wonder what it would be like doing this thing if I had those. I actually never got Paladin AF2 feat, so I don't know what it's like to have that first, tick of invincibility after using Sentinel. And I always wanted to experience that, but never got it. Which is fine. I got a Valor Surcoat and a Valor Cape, so I'm not going to complain about the AF2 that I got or did not get. But that's why I loved doing Dynamis. Anytime something dropped and, some person would just be like, OMG, finally, I can't believe it finally dropped for me. Like, that's why I love doing Dynamis. I want to see other people get excited about this stuff, That's what excites me, is other people getting excited about them getting their stuff. It's not all about me. And, I learned that from Null. He was always willing to spend his time to enrich other people's time that they would spend from that point henceforth. And, I really think that having him as my friend during those formative years of, me as a teenager on the internet and just me as a teenager becoming an adult, like, I really have to credit him with helping shape me into not a vitriolic shithead, because that my natural proclivities tend to shift toward those types of behaviors. But Null helped show me directly through action the value of being charitable with your time. And it don't gotta be money, it don't gotta be, food, clothes, cars. I got 6 houses. Like, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is how charitable are you with your time for other people. Like that, I think if I could encapsulate my experience with him in my life as having some type of just one sentence moral, then it is to always remember the value of your time. And in that process, just remember how valuable it is to another person, and that you could maybe spend a couple minutes, maybe an hour, maybe even just a passing comment that you like someone's shirt. Spending your time to enrich someone else's life is really beyond any other kind of value. Sure, we typically trade our time for, paper currencies and digital values in our bank accounts that we can say this is what our time is worth. But when you just give time itself to another person, and I don't think there's any other form of value or exchange you can really give that. So, speaking of that, thank you for your time. I was sitting in the bathtub this morning and I was thinking to myself, just like, is it really like 200 people to watch this shit? I mean, I'm sure it was probably less than that like watch to the end. And if you're one of the, that 5% of people that do watch to the end, thank you even more for your time. But I mean, I'm just thinking, like, why would anyone watch this stupid shit in the first place? But I realize now that it's like, wow, people actually are watching this, and I getting PMs of this stuff all day while I'm playing the game. So, thank you for your time. I'm glad that it can entertain people to some degree. I'm glad that it can, tell people firsthand like what it was like to play the game back then, and why y'all young whippersnappers didn't have to walk uphill in the snow both ways to do everything like I had to do, type of things that it's just cool to me that people enjoy it. I mean, for real, like y'all made me feel like Paris Hilton in Disneyland, for real, hopping back into this game. And I appreciate that too. Like, it's a strange feeling, Been doing this for many years, and in fact, if you look through my upload history, you may wonder why there's a huge gap in the time that I didn't upload a video. It is because I have recorded this video so many times. I have expended over a day and a half of my life trying to record this video. But this time I had decided, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it. Whatever happens, we're going to upload this one this time. And I'm going to go eat like 10 pounds of food because I have not eaten yet today. I'm sure you needed to know that. I want to go eat some freaking ramen noodles or something. By the way, you want to try something really baller? You got any Japanese mayonnaise? You got that Kewpie mayonnaise? You got any Shitakiku mayonnaise? Bruh. Right as soon as your noodles are done, dump like 2 tablespoons of that Japanese mayonnaise in your noodles and stir it up. Oh man, yeah, it's like having a bisque mixed with a ramen. It's creamy. It sticks to the noodles better. I'm about to go have me some of that right now with a slice of Kraft single American cheese up in it. Give me some cheesy, creamy ramen noodles. Might have to make that my first video because I'm sure some people will be thinking that sounds disgusting, but I'm going to show you what. I will show you what. I will take you into the bizarre funland vortex of chaos that is my life one way or another. We're going to make that a thing. See, it's always an hour long for one reason or another, but hell, screw it. Normally, most times we get this far in a video, one of these people starts using one of them lawnmowers and their weed whackers, and I'm just like, yeah, time to throw this video away again. I ain't doing it this time. I ain't using this note chart no more. Nope. I'm uploading this one. Thank y'all. Appreciate you.